Hallelujah. Good afternoon, everyone. Can we have someone to lead us in a word of prayer? You can raise your hand when you pray for us. Anyone, please raise your hand so that I can ask you to unmute so that you can lead us in a word of prayer. Yes, I will.
Let's humble ourselves for prayer. Lord, mighty Father, I thank you for this day. We thank you for the gift of life. Lord, we pray as you're going to study this Zoom lesson, may you come and guide us. May you fill our minds with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, so that we may understand whatever Teacher Martha is going to teach us. In Jesus' name I have prayed and believed. Amen.
Amen. So before we begin, I just want to briefly share with you the devotion for today. It was saying, you are a blessing. Genesis 12 says, I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. As God's child, all things are yours, so there is no need to worry about anything. Remember, Abraham was a blessing, and because of him, his cousin Lot was blessed too. When you read Genesis 13, 5-6. When God wants to bless someone, he sends you to them because he has blessed you with all the blessings so that you can be a blessing to them. If your friend or anyone around you feels pain in their body, they can get healed as you pray and lay hands on them because you carry God on the inside of you. Make up your mind to be a blessing to everyone you meet. Kindly take on this prayer after me. Thank you, precious Father, for making me a blessing to my world. Through me, others will know your love, grace, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for listening. So I remember last week we were looking at carbon in the environment. Can someone remind us some of the things we looked at last week? You can raise your hand or you can share your answer in the chat. If you remember what we looked at, you could share your answer in the chat or you can raise your hand and I can hear from you. So for a better recap, I just wanted us to begin off from here because we looked at carbon in the environment and we said we interact with substances every day that actually contain carbon in them. So that brings to our mind that we need to know what are some of the renewable fuels and then the non-renewable fuels. And I remember we had really looked at renewable sources of fuel, or the renewable fuel. And of course, we say renewable fuels are easily replaced or replenished once they are used up over a relatively short period of time. And of course, we get the different examples. We say wind, solar, geothermal energy, hydropower, and then biomass energy. And of course, we looked at some of the advantages, and I got very many from all of you. And of course, we got some disadvantages. So I remember I was winding up on the part of disadvantages. We say in the advantages that maintenance requirements are lower, and these fuels can be used over and over again because, of course, if you have the sun, the wind, the water, you can easily obtain them at a particular time over and over again. Then, of course, it saves the energy because, it saves the environment because we are looking at these sources as being less pollutant to the what? To the environment. And then, of course, we have reliable sources of energy due to their availability. Like we said, we can't take a whole year without it being sunny because even in the outside countries where we see them experiencing winter, summer, and all the other seasons of the year, you realize that at least they have that time when it shines. So that means they are reliable. And then of course water and then wind. Then of course we have the disadvantages. We say they require space for storage, and of course their storage technologies are quite expensive. So for example, if you're extracting energy from the sun, if it's to run maybe a given in a given space of land, leave alone maybe just your house and lighting, you realize that you're going to require large storage pieces, and of course the means of storage are also expensive. And then of course we have unpredictable weather events which disrupt the continuity of these resources. We all know that sometimes we have unstable weather conditions. Of course, there are those times when you know it's going to be raining in this month, it's going to be shining in this month. But how about those events whereby it rains over a given period of time without it being much sunny? That means those are using the solar energy are likely to be inconvenienced. So those are some of the disadvantages of renewable fuels. I hope I'm not very fast because I want us to be moving together. So you can let me know in the chat if we are together up to that part before we move to the non-renewable fuels.
Oh, madam, what? Gamba anti n'amazima ogamanyi. Ayigoyi.
Okay, thank you for those responses. For those that have responded in the chat, thank you so much. So we move to the non-renewable fuels. The non-renewable fuels, who can tell me what they know about non-renewable fuels? What are non-renewable fuels? What comes to your mind when you hear the word non-renewable fuels? Please raise your hand or post your answer in the chat. Let's try to respond to the answers, to the questions asked, because it will help me explain better. So let's please contribute. What are non-renewable fuels? If I'm waiting for responses, so please let's respond. Okay, I can see some answers in the chat here. Non-renewable fuels are fuels that can't be easily replenished on a human after being used. Okay, thank you. That is good. Are fuels the same as resources? Resources is more of a generic term, and fuels are not the same as resources. So they are different. When we look at fuels, I told us the other day, when we're looking at fuels, what fuel is. And then these are resources which are not replaced. Okay, I think we can improve that by saying which cannot be replaced after being used up. Then these are fuels that can't be replaced once used up. That's good. These are fuels that can't be replaced naturally when used up. Okay, that's good. And then I have a direct message here. Non-renewable fuels, also known as fossil fuels, are energy sources that can't be replenished naturally in a short period of time. They take millions of years to form and are finite. Okay, this is good, though I think this person got it from AI, which is okay, but maybe next time you reduce on that information according to what you've understood from them. So we have, he has given us some examples: coal, oil, natural gas. That is very good. Then, of course, a few other responses. Thank you so much, all of you, for that feedback. So, like most of you have said, these are fuels that can't be easily replaced once used up. And we all know that these are formed naturally and are available in limited amounts. Therefore, take millions of years to be replaced. So that means if maybe I am extracting a given fuel, it's going to take me several years once that fuel is done for me to get another when it comes to the non-renewable fuels. And that's why they are called non-renewable. So we also have, what are some of the examples of non-renewable resources? We have the fossil fuel oil, we have the coal, we have the nuclear energy, we have the natural gas. And all these energies, you're going to look at them in senior 3, how they are extracted, how are they obtained, where are they found. So here we are basically looking at those examples. So I hope we are together up to that point. So we have the advantages and disadvantages of non-renewable fuels. Can I get some responses from us? What are some of the advantages of non-renewable fuels? I had seen a hand up. Aya, please put your hand up so that I can be able to ask you to unmute. Please share your answers in the chat or raise your hand and share with us. Yes, Ira. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's the voice is low.
They do not easily replenish.
Okay, that is good. Thank you. Anyone else? Aya is saying they are usually cheap. Miranda, what do you mean by what's happening? Because we are answering a question, so I don't know what your question means. Giveno is saying they are cheap. Thank you. Any other responses? Apart from they cannot be replaced after being used up and then they are cheap, what else are the advantages of these renewable fuels? Justin is saying they are used to produce other products, like which products, Justin? Then Aya is saying they are available. They are dependable and consistent. Thank you, Precious. Giveno says they are readily available. Yeah, Giveno, are you repeating Aya's answers? Because Justin, okay, example, borax, okay, thank you. So thank you all for your responses. So we have some advantages here. They are cheap in converting from one type of energy to another. That is one. And then of course they are easy to use, whether in the house or elsewhere. And then they are very cost effective. That means they are cheap. That means they are easily affordable. So after that, we have create jobs to many people in extracting, transporting, and refining. So here, a lot of people are able to be employed because we have different stages in which to obtain such fuels. There is the process of extracting, there is the process of transporting, there is the process of refining. So all those processes require people to be around. And then, of course, Baruch says they improve on the economy of the country since they are sold to other countries, hence getting foreign income. Very good. Then Anna says they are easily transported using pipeline, ships, DD coal and gas. Okay, that is good. Thank you all for your suggestions. Then they are also very easy to what? To store. So we also have some disadvantages. I'm going to request us to share our thoughts on the disadvantages. What are some of the disadvantages of using? Ramona says they are limited. Abuzu says they produce a lot of energy. Okay, that is good. Is it transportation? Is it a disadvantage, Miranda? They pollute the environment. Thank you, Ayo. They take many years to form. Sebastian, thank you. They take long to form. They exploit faster. Okay, they can't be reused. Okay, thank you all for those responses. That is good. So number one disadvantage I have here is they take millions of years to form. And then number two, can never be replaced once they have been used. Then number three, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere when burnt, which causes global warming. And then, of course, they release sulfur dioxide when burnt, which causes breathing complications. And then we have time consuming, that is to say in mining, inserting pipes, and then in the transportation process. So they are very time consuming and they take long to form. Okay, so a big thank you to all those that are responding in the chat. That's good. So we move on. Explain why renewable fuels are better than non-renewable fuels. Explain why renewable fuels are better than non-renewable fuels. I'm waiting for our responses. They are abundant. Thank you, Aguzu. Anyone else? You can even raise your hand and share with us. They produce clean energy. They can be reused. Renewable fuels are plenty and always available. They don't produce. They are readily available. Okay, these are all good answers. Thank you for your responses. So of course, this definition here is this explanation here is capturing everything you mentioned in the chart, whereby we have the sustainability is good and low contributions to the carbon cycle. That means less carbon dioxide is given off or less carbon compounds are given off during the use of these renewable fuels. And of course, in some cases, lower amounts of greenhouse gases. So that means the effect of the negative effect of these renewable fuels on the environment is much less compared to the effect of the non-renewable fuels. So we have my environment, my responsibility. So it says we need to use non-renewable fuels due to their sustainability and environmental friendliness. That was supposed to be renewable because they are sustainable and they are environmental friendly, not non-renewable. It was supposed to be renewable. And if we are to use the non-renewable fuels, that means we need to use them in a sustainable way. So if we are using them, the non-renewable fuels, because we know they can be depleted and because of their impact to the environment, we need to use them sparingly or sustainably. So this one here was supposed to be renewable fuels, not non-renewable. Okay, Sebastian in the chat says renewable fuels can diversify the energy mix, reducing reliance on single energy source and promoting energy. Okay, those are all good responses. Thank you. And then we have some research work here. We're going to research about the sustainability and write a report on how the use of fuel in your locality can be made more sustainable. So please take a screenshot. You carry out that research. Research on an idea about sustainability and write a report on how the use of fuel in your locality can be more one of the ways we can apply sustainability on these fuels that we are using is, for example, using alternative energy sources of fuels, such as biogas, biodiesel, and then alcohol. And then, of course, biogas, you look at the detail of it as you move, but realize that biogas is extracted from waste material, which could be animal or plant material. So biogas is not something that is hard. And remember, the government has been encouraging people to at least own a cow that can provide that manure that you could use as a raw material for the production of what? Of biogas, which could be sustainable in most homes. And of course, some of the rural areas have really adopted this, or people that are rearing cows. Instead of throwing away that manure, because sometimes even when you're using it for agriculture, it has a limitation. You can't over apply it. You really need to apply it in required amounts. So that means at that point, people are able to extract, to use the remaining manure for the manufacture of biogas. So, and then of course, alcohol, which is used in most run the machines or engines of those vehicles or industry machines that use petrol to run. Okay, so we have alcohol as a fuel. Can I get someone to read this for us? Please raise your hand if you're willing to read this for us.
Alcohol as a fuel. Sugarcane plants are one of the most efficient converters of sunlight into chemical energy. Sugarcane juice can be used to prepare molasses, which are fermented to give alcohol (ethanol). Some countries now use alcohol as an additive in petrol since it is a cleaner fuel that gives rise to only carbon dioxide and water on burning in sufficient air (oxygen).
Okay, thank you, Ira. So we know that sugar canes are good converters of sunlight into chemical energy. And that is why the juice can be fermented to prepare molasses in order to give us what? Ethanol. So, of course, in some countries, they now use alcohol as an additive in petrol since it's a cleaner fuel that gives rise to only carbon dioxide and water when burning insufficient oxygen. So we have the impact of burning carbon-based fuels on the environment. So we are going to share and discuss how carbon-based fuels pollute the environment. How do carbon-based fuels pollute the environment? Please raise your hand or share in the chat. How do you think carbon-based fuels pollute the environment?
I think carbon-based fuels pollute the environment through when they are burnt, since they are carbon-based. I think the carbon stands for carbon dioxide. So when they are burnt, the carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, which causes damage to the ozone layer, thus causing global warming.
Okay, thank you. That is very good. I'm seeing some responses here. You took first, please. So which part should I go back to? The previous slide. Thank you so much, Ira, for that response. It's really a good one, and the way you explained it. Okay, Daniela is saying I'm low. Who else is not able to hear me? Okay, so I think I've given us some time on this slide. I'm going to click to the next one. Ferret is saying they increase the amount of carbon dioxide in the environment when burnt. Okay. Thank you, that is good. So we are still on part A, where we are saying carbon-based fuels. Discuss how carbon-based fuels pollute the environment. And of course, one of the ways, apart from the ones they have mentioned in the chart, we have burning of fossil fuels reduces carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This causes the Earth's atmosphere to warm, resulting into changes in the what? In the climate. So that means the production of the carbon dioxide, because we said in our previous lesson last week that when carbon burns in oxygen, it's going to give us carbon dioxide, and this is in excess oxygen. So when it gives us carbon dioxide, this carbon dioxide, aside its advantages, it also has disadvantages. When it accumulates in the atmosphere, because it's one of the things that cause the temperatures of the earth to rise. And once they rise, that means they're going to be able to what? To cause the earth to warm up, which we call global warming. That means the blanket that covers the earth is destroyed. That blanket is called the ozone layer. So when that ozone layer is destroyed, that means the earth is able to warm up, which we call global warming. And the temperatures of the earth actually increase because of the high levels of what? Of carbon dioxide. So burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which causes global warming. And then, of course, changes in climate. Because, of course, we know if we are burning these fossil fuels, the different compounds that are being released affect the environment. That means when they affect the environment, there are going to be changes in the what? In the climate. And once the climate changes, it can cause tsunamis, it can cause floods, it can cause all those different natural disasters, which could affect people in a long run. And then, of course, another one, I hope I'm not very fast right now. And of course, another one, we have dissolving of carbon compounds like carbon dioxide in the oceans creates carbonic acid, which increases the acidity of water. And this affects the marine organisms. So that means the production of this carbon dioxide, once it dissolves in the water, or even the rain, sometimes the carbon dioxide will react with the water produced through the rain. And of course, when those two react, they are basically going to produce acidic rains, which affect the environment. Or for example, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will react with the water, forming that carbonic acid, which affects the marine animals that definitely could die. Okay, so with that said, you could find out some other effects of carbon-based fuels on the environment. So I will expect you to do some more research and get some more other pollutants that these different fuels bring about in our environment. Then part B is telling us the effect of carbon-based fuels on the environment. What is the effect of carbon-based fuels on the environment? Discuss how the effect on carbon-based fuels on the environment can be minimized. People, let's respond in the chat or you raise your hand.
Madam, I'm not getting you.
But the question is on the screen, so you could respond in response to that question. What is the effect? Sorry, discuss how the effect of carbon-based fuels on the environment can be minimized. Miranda, I don't know what you mean by done. So I'm waiting for our responses. How can those effects that we have mentioned, how can they be minimized in our environment? Okay, Precious is saying by implementing policies and regulations, that is good. Perut says by planting trees that can absorb the carbon dioxide and release oxygen, that is good. Then Justin says by using catalytic converters during the process. These are all good suggestions. Can I get some more? Ayo says educating the public on the dangers of using carbon-based fuels. Okay, that is good. I'm loving these responses. So just in addition, I'll mention a few here. You could write them. It says whenever possible, walk or ride a bicycle in order to avoid carbon emissions completely, because we've seen that in some of these fuels that they are producing, they produce those that aid motorcycles, cars, but when you're riding a bicycle or walking, you're going to cut off most of the usage of those carbon-based what? Fuels. And then Precious is saying by promoting sustainable transportation. Okay, that is good. So the other one is avoid bush burning, burning down bushes, or even firewood burning. So those are some of the things that you should list. Then also through the use of public transport means to limit the number of cars on the road. So I know this may be a little hard, but if most people chose to use public transport means, that means we wouldn't have very many people owning their personal cars, which reduces the carbon dioxide production towards the environment. And then, of course, by reusing and recycling plastic materials. So instead of disposing them off or burning them or for those different purposes, you could actually recycle them or reuse them for the different purposes. And then, of course, another solution would be through using renewable sources of energy, such as wind, solar, and geothermal energy. So instead of using the non-renewable sources of energy, you could use the ones that are renewable, that don't produce carbon dioxide. That is wind, that is solar energy, and then the geothermal energy. So those are some of the ways that you could actually uh, curb carbon-based fuels. So before we proceed, I just want to ask someone to unmute and share with us um the effects of burning carbon in limited supply of air. What happens when we burn carbon in limited supply of air? Please, you can raise your hand. Yes, Ira. Ira, you can unmute. Okay, I'm seeing here Paula is saying it leads to production of carbon monoxide. Okay, that is very good. And what is the effect of that carbon monoxide to us? Okay, so as we think of that, I just want us to watch a video on how to make briquettes. And of course, as you watch, I'm going to expect you to have your own project where you will go and do some homework on how you can make briquettes in readily available resources. Don't go and start telling a parent to give you 100,000 or 50,000 to go and buy anything. You're going to use the readily available resources. So as we watch these videos, I want us to think that if it were me making these briquettes, what are some of the resources I'll need? And after this lesson, you will go back and make your own briquettes. It's a project that I will want to have a look at. So you can take a picture with your briquettes and you share with us on the WhatsApp group. Affect the ability of our blood to transport oxygen, leading to suffocation. That's good, Paula. Then Justin, it leads to airborne diseases. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to watch this video.
This AI tool will take your idea and create a complete book, complete design, images, layout, everything, including the content, literally in
people. Briquettes are defined as compressed blocks of coal dust or other combustible material used for fuel and kindling to start fire. Alternatively, a briquette is a block of compressed coal dust, charcoal dust, sawdust, and wood chips or biomass, and is used as a fuel in stoves or boilers. Ruel Edoni and Sarah Semau are the founders of CNG Smart Cooking Solutions. Trainees at the farm, nurtured as incredible producers. Aside their concentration on animal husbandry and the producer hub in general, young men of Arua and Nemisinga districts thought briquette making can be a great way to earn a living and also an environment improving strategy.
As Joel, I thought back to where I came from, in Mamba. You know, the town, what town is so much littered with this, the garbage. You know, you can also make these briquettes from any other rubbish, like peelings of matoke, and you burn them, and then you use it to make social dirty energy. So when I was looking at it, you know, the town being so much littered with this rubbish, which people tend to look at it something so useless. I'm coming up with that idea of turning rubbish into something useful. It's without like turning trash into cars. You know, we need to impress zero waste.
I identified a very big challenge where I come from, where farmers are facing a challenge of people, in fact, the community, we have a challenge of limited supply of EcoSmart heat energy. They are there, but unreliable. For example, electricity, which is there, but it is unreliable. Some people cannot afford it. So I thought of providing a solution by making these briquettes. When I happened to go back, according to the Uganda Wood Asset and Forest Resources Account Report of 2020, which was drawn by UBOS, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, Uganda's aggregate national wood stock reduced by 45% between 1990 and 2015, with the demand of charcoal in the lead. Edoni and Semau believe this can change if people are exposed to these benefits of briquettes. The briquette has a lot of benefits, one on health and on the environment. We find that the materials used to make the briquette are regarded as waste materials, like the charcoal dust. So instead of dumping these materials into the environment that contribute to environmental degradation. They are reused, recycled into useful substances that can be used. And then on the health part of it, you find that the briquette doesn't burn with emission of carbon monoxide. You know, carbon monoxide is a very dangerous gas. Once inhaled, it combines with the hemoglobin to form carboxyhemoglobin, which is very dangerous to human health and to animal health.
When you're using other sources of fuel like firewood and then charcoal, they tend to produce lots of smoke. That's caused by that unburnt carbon. You see, it's also harmful to the eyes and the fellows. Again, it also tends to pollute the environment when you're using when it produces a lot of smoke in the atmosphere. And again, these briquettes, when you take the burning, the time they take to burn, these briquettes we're making, they tend to burn for 4 to 6 hours. This one briquette. That means somebody who is going to cook will need this one of these briquettes for cooking a complete meal.
There are various ways of making briquettes with different materials and equipment. And co-founder of C&J Smart Cooking Solutions has identified clay as the best raw material for making harder and long-lasting briquettes. The briquettes from C&J are made of clay, called charcoal dust, molasses.
The first thing is you get that clay, you soak it. It's advisable to soak clay to stay overnight for it to take in that water, to ease the process of mixing or breaking it down. And then you break that clay to porridge-like content. You don't make it too watery, neither should you make it thick. Because if it is thick, the briquette may not burn. And if it is too watery, it will break. It will not bind together. So after mixing, then you scoop. When there is a bucket we use of sandoling, about 20 liters in one sack of dust. Scoop that bucket, and then you're mixing one sack of dust. You mix thoroughly to get uniform mixing. You take time and mix it because if you lose some parts that are not mixed well, so meaning you're going to get some briquettes which are poor quality. So you need to make sure that the mixture is well mixed, but before getting the clay, it has the charcoal dust. If you have molasses, you can. But if you don't have still, it is okay. Those molasses, it also improves on the combustion and they're also binding. So if you add molasses, the better. But if you don't have still, you can just mold your briquettes without molasses. So if you have molasses, you add in 4 buckets a quarter cup, that is 250 mils, a quarter liter of molasses in 4 buckets of the mixed clay, that porridge-like. So transfer the mixed content into the clay, into the charcoal dust, and then you mix. After mixing, it is advisable. Molasses react with clay. Even if you just look in the bucket, you find that there is a reaction taking place. So it is good. You leave it to stay for overnight, and then you start molding the following day. But you can still start molding immediately after mixing. But if you want to get the easier work to get the best briquette and even time to settle for overnight, and then you start molding.
In a country where charcoal and firewood are the most popular fuels for domestic work, adoption of briquettes is still tricky, especially the little exposure about the product.
People at they've been trouble that's knowledge as to whether that charcoal dust can be turned into something useful. But I know this new innovation, it needs some sensitization into the communities. so that they can change that mindset.
And then you find that for the starter, find that we are just basing on relying on natural conditions like the sunshine, and of which we are facing a lot of challenges. When it rains, you don't work, and at times if it doesn't shine, it takes long to dry. So you find that you may not be able to meet the demand simply because you are depending on the natural conditions to run your business. Yeah, so you find that some other challenges like maybe when you talk of the collecting these materials, find that they can bring materials which has a lot of foreign particles, and you have to take time to remove them, which increase the cost of production, and even at the same time takes time for you to get the fine materials that can give you the high quality briquette or the high quality product.
Looking at the cost-benefit analysis, Samao says briquette production is an affordable enterprise whose investment does not require heavy monetary assets, considering the available and quick access to raw materials. However, effective marketing and production bring in a fortune.
There are fixed assets, and then the current assets, of course, like the Japanese lessons you buy several times that you want to make. Then there's some other assets like the machine. Of course, maybe I will leave the machine out, and then we analyze these running assets that you always buy. So when you try to analyze, you find that at the end of it all, you can spend around, you bought everything. You will not like bought your materials, you bought the clay, you bought the charcoal dust, you pay the labor for all the costs. A briquette it ranges from 1,000 to 1,600. The cost of producing one briquette. So, and the price is actually depends on the region where you come from, but it is between 1,500 to 3,000. So if you sell it at 2,000, you find that you are making a profit of about 705 shillings. 375 shillings, I mean. So you find that that is the profit you can make out of what? One briquette. But also, of course, it depends on how much you sold and then how much you bought your materials. So, but the profit, according to our analysis, ranges from 300 to 500.
For any entrepreneur interested in briquette manufacturing, Samao has recommended providing a safe place for storage after production.
Security for the briquette is very important, and also security from animals, saving them from animals, because you can incur a lot of money, and then the mold, and then at the end of it all, you find that when there is no briquette apart from the dust. So security and preventing from rain, making that doesn't have that direct contact with the rain. It is so much affected by the raindrops. And you find that when you expose it to the rain, find that you're only going to get a clay. Charcoal dust will be gone. So as an entrepreneur, you need to get to know the risks like I've talked about, and just like another entrepreneur, I will encourage that you be a great thinker. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, one thing that characterizes the entrepreneurs, the good thinkers. So you need to literally think about the business and then analyze the risks and uncertainties, then look for ways of how you can out it.
We want to cover that.
Anything but guys? Wow, I love this. Hello, welcome to this channel. I'm Kara. If you're new, subscribe and don't forget to turn on your notification bell for new videos. Thank you so much. This video, guys, is another method of charcoal briquette making. Just watch the video till the end to enjoy every bit of it. turn into powder. So that's why I'm doing this. Whichever means you can use to turn it into powder, you use that. We used to put it inside a sack, and then we keep the sack like this. I don't know that makes sense when I say that. So since this video is just for demonstration, I don't need
It's enough to do that.
So let me go ahead. So if I want powder, instead of into powder form, I'm going to freeze it. So from here. So the chocolate we are going to use here. And guys, like I've always told you, if you don't want the dust in the chocolate dust to affect you so much, you can always first soak your chocolate dust. Like it has been outside there, and we are in a rainy season, so it has been by the rain. So no dust at all. That's how it is. So this method of decontaminating needs chocolate dust with very tiny particles. This one here, like here, still having their big particles. So we are going to go ahead and receive this field. We are going to do it from here. Maybe like that. That's it said chocolate dust. Because I'm going to show you I need just some bucket. So I'm just going to finish all the chocolate dust. Now, guys, once it's done fixing the chocolate dust, what remains on top is like this. They are big particles. So the chocolate dust with the big particles remains on top. So what we do for this test, now machine, you go ahead and you crush it till it's powder form. Or perhaps what we used to do, we used to get a second mortar and then you heat it. But was so tiresome. Me as a person, I've tried out very many methods of decontaminating, and I find this one a little hectic, whereby you have to fix the chocolate dust, you have to crush these ones which have remained, So I prefer the other method which I showed you first, whereby we use clay, even with 80 particles, we just grab everything and we get out. So that's the disadvantage with this method of decontaminating. Yeah, getting it. You can have a the material which you are going to use in the making of this briquette, you are going to use this chocolate dust, which you have seen me how I handle it. We have sawdust. This one is the resistance, meaning we remove the baby particles. What we have here is fine powder. And then also we have the anti soil, which is here. So here are the ratios. This is how we do the mixing. So in a case you are using a bucket, whatever you to mix, you can use a bucket, you can use a basin, you can use whichever, but whatever you use, if it is one bucket, it is one basin, we are going to put half basin mix. So now we have a bucket, meaning we are going to put half bucket of soda, and then we are going to put a quarter of the antil soil. And the rest of the three, guys, what you need to take note of are the ratios. If you don't work with this, I'm giving you meaning, you want to come up with good research. So here is our 1 bucket of sugar. What we do is we are putting half bucket so guys, here it is. It is half bucket of sugar. And then here is our unfilled soil. Meaning I saying a quarter, so it's not just something little. So this is it. Another liter. So this is the quarter of the unfilled soil. Let's put them all together. Do the mixing.
Mixing.
So you have to mix until they are uniformly mixed. So this I'm using my hands just because I'm dealing with smaller quantities. But this was the Lord. You need something to help you. So this has looked guys. And this one I'm using. So this has looked guys when mixed. So another material we're going to use as our binding agent is cassava porridge, guys. And here is the saucepan on which we are cooking, the cassava porridge. So let us see how we do the mixing to make the cassava porridge and which consistency of the porridge we use. So section. So guys, we are making the
Liquid, right?
I'll put cold water here. So once it's done, you put it in your hot water. Like how you make porridge. Guys, here we are making porridge. For those of you who don't know how to make porridge, this is how we make porridge, but now this porridge is cassava porridge. Porridge? And that's how it is. You just make it so thin. If you have a lot of cassava flour, you can make it very thick, but even when you don't use salt, I'm going to show you where the difference comes in. When you have used thin porridge and when you have used, you pour it here. You can choose to mix it anywhere. You can use a basin, you can, and for me, I have this large set. I prefer doing it in here. Other guys is getting tray, and then for the still hot, I cannot get it to the hot porridge. Let me pass it I do it with my hand when the porridge is cold. So now guys, here we come. Unlike the other methods of making things I've showed you where we use clay, our binding agent, and then the clay, going to contribute to the binding of metals. This is still boiling like you can see. Guys, that's the point of view on the pressing. Yeah, I compare. And then also the work with short time. So if you don't think you should have good press meaning, I've received the question. Yeah, you guys don't like to actually what you understand. But that's sometimes that's what that's for how long would have the minute has time to contribute to that side that the big done. But you're going to the policy the method of
Someone is asking what is making what is called briquette. And those briquettes, I hope you saw the different materials that she was mixing. It's also a form of, instead of burning down bushes or trees in order to make charcoal, this is one way of actually cooking food in the local way, using a charcoal stove, but you're using these briquettes. I know most of you have heard about them, and if you've been following, because some people are complaining about the network, but if you have been following, even the first method was showing us how to make briquettes, but those briquettes were more of the bigger stove, of the bigger charcoal stoves. But when you look at the briquettes she's making, they're the smaller briquettes that anyone could make using the readily available resources. Because, for example, charcoal dust is readily available. If you look at the soil, she used anthill soil, but like I said, you're going to look for a way of making your own personal briquettes. So that means you're going to think outside the box. How can I actually make briquettes? And then, of course, we saw that she added sawdust. So for you, if you don't use sawdust, what is the other alternative you can use? Then, of course, she's using cassava flour in order to mold those things together such that they can be able to hold together. Because as you can see, she's holding a ball, she's rolling one in her hand. So she's forming balls out of that what? Of the different materials that she had. So is that a bit clear now after my explanation? I don't know why my network is a bit unstable, but at least I hope you're able to pick something.
Where we use it as our binding agent. I said that you can use big particles, like chocolate dust with big particles. So for that case, chocolate dust with big particles, they burn faster compared to the ones you make when you are using chocolate dust with tiny particles. Does that make sense, guys? So that's it. So the quality of the size of your chocolate dust will also contribute to the time your briquettes take to burn. So for that case, I think we are choosing the ones which are made with any particles, but you see them probably come along with a briquette made with tiny particles, in that you have to first stick to the chocolate dust. That's like if you're doing it at home, because we don't have a machine to crush everything into powder form. So you find it becomes a little hectic at the end of the day. And if you're just doing the mixing at once with everything, whether big or small, you find you use less energy, less time, less everything, but your quality of your business won't be good. So guys, I don't know whether you are getting notes if I'm doing here. I am molding, you know? So you have to do the pressing so much. Anything that, guys, you can get closer and they see how I'm doing the molding, you know? So this is how I do it, guys. This is how I do it. So if you're interested in the other methods of briquette making, I mean the commercial methods, you can let me know in the comment section whether you are interested, and I go ahead and I make for you those videos for commercial briquette making, where we use machines. Yeah. So here we are. So guys, if you've watched all my videos for briquette making, just let me know in the comment section which method you prefer, All the methods I've showed, I think this is the fourth method. It's not the fifth method of briquette making on my channel. If you haven't watched the other videos about briquette making, though I have other videos on my channel which are not about briquette making, you can check them out, guys, as a way of supporting me, this channel. Anikera, they know. Anikera channel. So, and I think that this is how it all looks like. It is not watery, not that thing. Like when I told you, the more you make this briquette, the more you are going to understand. Because that's what you this cup.
Okay, so I hope at least you've been able to pick something from briquette making. And of course, looking at those videos, the first one they were using still the charcoal dust. That shows that charcoal dust is one of the most important ingredients. But of course, you could also use any other material, but that I'm going to leave it to you. Go and find out what materials you're going to use to make your briquettes. And of course, we know that in chemistry, you first tell us what you need, what are the materials you need. So you're going to write basically a report showing the materials you're going to use to make the briquettes. And then after that, what you did, you write down the procedure of what you're going to do. And then, of course, you share with us your report and some pictures of how your briquettes have come out. So also, you could also check out
the last day, but
you could also share some of your pictures doing that briquette making process. And then also saying you could watch this lesson on the YouTube channel. It is going to be there. So as soon as it ends, they share those YouTube links in your group. So you can go back and rewatch and also pick ideas from there. Because remember, everything you study in class, you should be able to apply it somewhere. So at least we should be able to make those briquettes as an alternative source of energy. Because remember, as we were sharing about renewable and non-renewable fuels, we talked about looking for alternative sources of energy. So apart from biogas, that is also another source of what? Of energy using the readily available materials. That charcoal dust is usually at the bottom of the sacks of every charcoal sack. Or even at the different places where they sell charcoal, those people usually don't have anything to do with that charcoal dust. So you could request them for it and you could come up with your own briquettes. So that is a way of saving and being sustainable and accountable to our what? To our environment. So I would want to take some questions if you have any. If you have any questions, you can put up your hand and share with us. And if there are no questions, I wish you an excellent term. And may you have a beautiful term.